Hi, Kelly. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Can you do a little bit introduction for you?
Sure. My name's Kellie. I lecturer here at Monash University. I teach chemistry. My background is in environmental chemistry, so I enjoy teaching that, and I also teach first year chemistry and second year analytical chem as well.
So thank you. So we got the topic about the Woolworths supermarket will cancel the plastic bags.
Yep.
On June 20.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you think about that?
I think it's a great idea. Over the past few years, when they've had other states go through the same process, so like South Australia and Australian Capital Territory, they have noticed a big decrease in the amount of plastic bags being used because people have to then pay for a plastic bag. I think it's a good incentive for the consumers to think about bringing their reusable bags instead of just grabbing a plastic bag that they use once and then throw away.
So actually yesterday I interviewed the Zurich Woolworths staff, which is an experimental unit of the cancelling the supply for the free plastic bags, and the staff says that the effect was not very good. So the customers thought it's not really convenient. It's inconvenient, and most of the customers choose to buy the cheapest, the 50-cent plastic bags instead of the woven bags.
Mm-hmm.
The 50% plastic bag is like the GB Happy, the yellow one.
Yes.
Yeah. And in this case, the question is, does cancelling the supply of free plastic bags really help to protect the environment?
I think it does. People generally, if they're free, people tend to use them a lot more than if you have to pay for them. So if you went to the supermarket and bought one item, normally you just take the plastic bag to put it in. Whereas if you had to actually pay extra for a plastic bag, I think people think twice about it. When you chatted with the people at the supermarket, we, in science terms, consider that just one lot of data. So when you look at the effect over long term, you have to consider looking at all the supermarkets and over a long period of time, when people particularly start adjusting to their the habit of changing from not bringing their bags to bringing their bags. And also just having that mindset that the plastic bags aren't going to be free from now on. I think that does take a little while for that to change.
So another question is to be academic. So is it 50% bags eco-friendly?
Well, plastic's plastic, honestly. So the plastic that is in the free bag is the same as the plastic in a reusable bag, including the woven ones. Most of the woven bags are made of plastic as well. So in some ways, that environmentally they all have the same impact. The aim is to reduce the amount of plastic used by reusing them. So you'll want to have plastic that is strong, that can be reused, and so it doesn't rip the first time you use it. And you also want to have it be able to hold lots of food items as well. So so in some ways, yes, it's still not environmentally friendly, but you'll want to force people to start reusing the bags instead of just using them once and then throw them out in
So these two kinds of bags, the 50% bags, the plastic bags or the woven bags, still hard to degrade or
Yes.
decompose.
Yes. Yes, because the woven bags are, unless they're actually made of like cotton, they are made of plastic, and so they are going to take as long to degrade as your normal plastic bags. So you do need to, I guess, be careful as well with looking longer term to try to go back to using fabric instead of, like as in cotton, instead of the polyester or the polypropylene fabric, which is what a lot of those bags are now made out of, because they do take a long time to degrade. But there are people, companies out there that are recycling them. So what they do is they melt them down and then they make things like furniture out of those type of plastic bags, the woven ones as well as the normal plastic bags. So, and I can see in the future a lot more of that happening. So in some ways, it's not all doom and gloom. Like there are ways to not only just reuse them, but also recycle them in the future. So they're just a type of plastic that is flexible, so they move, but they're also quite strong. The woven ones, I did actually have. I might actually have it. So, yes, I do. Like these ones, these are made out of the same material. Okay, so these are still plastic as well. So, so they look like they're actually fabric, but they're made out of the same type of plastic. So they're obviously a lot thicker, so they last longer, but they're not going to degrade any quicker than those plastic bags. But as I said, there are companies now that recycle these. So what they do is they melt them down and then they mold them into usable products like furniture and fences and
Talk about a little bit about the influence about the plastic bags pollutions for environment.
Yeah, so plastic in general, so plastic bags are very light plastic, so they tend to float in water, and so they can get into your oceans quite easily compared to some other plastics which are quite heavy and they sink. Once they get into the oceans, that's where they do have a huge impact on the environment, because fish, they consume them either intentionally because it looks like a jellyfish, or unintentionally because it just gets caught up when they're feeding. There's been many cases where people have cut open the stomachs of whales and other large sea creatures and just found lots of plastic. So there's in particular with plastic bags, that's the main concern. They don't degrade quickly. They do take a long time to degrade, so they're in the oceans for a long time, and so the problem is that it will take decades to hundreds of years for a lot of these plastics to break down, and so the impact on the ecosystem is very long term. So yeah, they I guess the quicker we get rid of them or stop using them as just a one item and then throw them away, the better. I think we should start reusing them, recycling them, and reducing the usage of them as well.
So thank you so much.
That's all right.